Friends of AM Network, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new video. I still can hardly believe it, and yet it is really true. Kawasaki is back to producing two-stroke motocross bikes. Unbelievable. A week after that reel posted on their social pages, so unannounced like lightning, there is serene. That's all we talk about. On the track, on social, in the paddocks, at the bar with friends, only two strokes and only Kawasaki. A great unexpected comeback. Search, buy, sell the used bike of your dreams. But why has this news shocked the world of taxied wheels so much? Well, be honest with yourselves. Did you ever expect that a major Japanese giant would return to producing two-stroke motocross bikes? I didn't, and I still find it hard to believe, especially since they were the ones who eliminated mixture bikes from the market. Honda in 2007, Kawasaki and Suzuki in 2008. Well, yes then, for a few more years, a few new examples in the dealers could be found. It is amazing, this thing, that years later, models like her, like this CR of 2007 that is now being contended for by enthusiasts, remained idle in dealerships gathering dust. A similar story, with due differences to that of the Lancia Delta. The only Japanese manufacturer faithful to two-stroke production was, or rather still is, Yamaha. But what displacements might Kawasaki come to market with? In the reel, you can really hear the sound of a two-stroke 2050. But watch out, because it could also be a 300-cylinder engine that in recent years has really made a dent in the hearts of enthusiasts of off-road taxied wheels. Suffice it to say that Beta, TM, KTM, Husqvarna and GasGas have large cube two-strokes on their lists. I mean, and then hope to see a KX125 again. Just the cigar alone makes me think of those memories associated with James Stewart making his pro debut and sowing panic in the lights class. And then anyway, with a growing off-roading sector, especially the specialty enduro sector, see Triumph and Ducati, which I think in a few years anyway will come along. I wouldn't be surprised to see a KX maybe 300 license plate with the headlights and the 18-inch rim bow. Certainly to see a motorcycle homologated also because of the new Euro 5 Plus standards. It complicates things a little bit for the Japanese giant, but if others are doing it, I don't see why Kawasaki can't do it. And I would be really curious, but then also why Kawasaki has made this choice. Somewhat against the grain by retracing its steps of almost 2 decades ago, maybe pushed by KTM's bad moment, maybe it saw a potential slice of the market that can be left there uncovered by the Austrian manufacturer. Legitimate to think so, even though developing a new bike anyway takes more than 6 months. Lo and behold, even takes years. So it occurs to me that Kawasaki was caught up in this production process of innovation and making new two-strokes already for a few years. And finally, this choice by Kawa could perhaps prompt some other Japanese giant perhaps to reproduce two-strokes? This is a good question. Ooh, fingers crossed. But why are two-strokes so beloved? Well, in my opinion, for 4 big reasons. The first is because of their sound, and here you can't argue. Second is for the more affordable costs. Yes, indeed, buying a two-stroke bike to race in the same category costs a little bit less. Not that much though. In fact, I had a look at the price lists, and for example, taking the Yamaha price list in the MX2 category, so where you can race both with the 2.5 4-stroke and the 2.5 2-stroke, I found a difference of about €1,000. For the 2.5 4-stroke on the list, it takes €10,199. For the 2.5 2-stroke, €9,199. Incidentally, very peculiar is the speech of Yamaha, which has has partly updated its 2.5 two-stroke, but technically then we all know, although it works very, very well to be a motorcycle of the 2005-2006. Here you think that the YZ at 250 at 2005 cost 7,210 euros at list price. Similar discussion but different, for example, for the MXI category. If we go into the KTM house, where I would compare the SX2 stroke with the SXF4 and 12,000 €50 for the two-stroke, 12,850 euro for the Bomber 4.5, so 800 euro difference. Yes, so you save a little bit, but it's not like they are figures that are exaggerated. After that, surely the third reason is because they cost a little bit less to maintain. On the other hand, the less parts there are, the less parts you can break, the less parts you can wear out, and therefore the less parts there are to replace when it's time to overhaul. To understand this point well, however, we need to look for a moment at the differences between 2- and 4-stroke engines. The heat engine works in intake, compression, burst and exhaust stages. And if all this process in the 2-stroke engine takes place with 1 revolution of the crankshaft, in the 4-stroke engine it requires 2 cycles to complete. Let us go in order and in a very, very schematic and simple way. In the 2-stroke engine, when the piston descends toward bottom dead center, the air-petrol mixture rises into the combustion chamber, passing through the transverse. At this point, the piston goes back up to top dead center, where it compresses, the mixture ignites the spark plug which generates power, and after that, when the piston goes back down to bottom dead center, the exhaust gases come out precisely from the exhaust. As you have been able to see in the 2-stroke engine, the exhaust and intake phases coincide, which is why the mixture engine is fundamental to expansion. In fact, inside the muffler, back pressure waves are created that, in an ideal scenario, manage to run off all the exhaust but keep inside the cylinder all the fresh mixture that has yet to explode. In the 4-stroke engine, on the other hand, there are always 4 phases, but there are 2 crankshaft revolutions in fact. When the piston goes down to bottom dead center, the intake valve opens, gasoline enters the duct. Watch out, yes, because 4-stroke engines do not run on mixture, but they run on gasoline. Yeah, after that compression phase, the piston goes up into top dead center, compresses the gasoline which bursts with the spark plug. At this point, burst phase, the piston goes down again. When it goes back up, since there are combusted gases in the combustion chamber, the exhaust valve opens and the piston pushes out precisely the combusted gases coming out of the exhaust valve or valves. You understand, therefore, that inside the 4-stroke engine there are many more components. I have only mentioned to you here the valves, but the valves are driven by the cams. The valves need the valve springs to operate and to return to their seats. And so already here we are talking about a much more complex and complicated engine with many more components that then, when they have to be set up, clearly have a cost. Not to mention that a piston, the 2-stroke engine, if you have a minimum of mechanical skill, if you can replace it even in the garage, while for a 4-stroke engine, in short, the accuracies for a job done properly are certainly many more. In short, in the end, 2-strokes still turn out to be cheaper, even though I have heard several friends who race at high levels, but that spend quite a lot of money even on 2-strokes, pistons that practically fly between Saturday qualifying and Sunday racing, lots of liters of good oil for the mixture, which is fundamental here, I believe that anyway. I ran in the same category with a 4-stroke engine. Probably the figures involved would still be higher also, because then the engine has to be prepared, and then the maintenance intervals shorten drastically, and then finally how? Or 4th reason, guys, the pleasure of riding 2-strokes is unsurpassed. I don't know what to tell you a bit, like point 1. I think here we don't even need to dwell and discuss in short lightness. No engine brake. incredible sound, even if it is the point. Me, when I drive her those few times a year, I drive her the sizzle in the right spot, keeping her in torque. It's really, really a pleasure. But so in the face of all these pros of the two strokes, more than legitimate question, why is there new of 40 motorcycles on the track? Well, basically because four-stroke tractors are more comfortable, easy and fast, but let's go in order. Element of comfort. Well, the Sunday Armatore arrives at the track, pulls the bike down from the Frugone little button and does everything by itself. The bike is always perfect thanks to the electronic injection and all those sensors that the latest generation bikes are practically studded with. While with the two-stroke, it is not that every time you get to the track you have to recarb. However, if you want to do things the right way, playing a little with the air screw is at least the least an enthusiast can do here. At the level then of ease, well guys, 40 definitely is a much wider window of power. Apart all the way from the very first 2,000 or 3,000 RPM, especially there, then we find a great torque that on the two-stroke lacks power, that on the two-stroke is generally enclosed in a very few revs, and up there where you have to be maybe sometimes a little bit more savvy, especially on the 252 stroke to enjoy it here. The 40 is easier. This match the two-stroke. He loses it 10 to 0. And then finally, because the four strokes are faster, we are talking about bikes running within the same category. And by the way, no, I don't agree with running two strokes together with 2.5 four strokes. So back to us. Have you ever gotten off 2.5 four strokes and got on 125 two-stroke? 125 strokes seems stationary. Or better yet, have you ever gotten off a 4.5 four-stroke and climbed back to back on a 2.5 two-stroke, 2.5 two-stroke? Looks like a toy? Don't come and tell me, but the sharper delivery, more difficult the 4.5 flies, and will make the 2.5 two-stroke look like a toy point, even if just because of the difficulty of use of the two-stroke, or rather more than difficulty of use to the less ease of use of the two-stroke. I always recommend them to all newbies just because they are a school and a necessary phase, and that you should not for any reason skip. But so in conclusion, Kawasaki has done right or has done wrong. Well, here only the market will give us an answer for the moment. However, from the marketing point of view, I feel like saying that Kawa won big. Seeing the media buzz it managed to generate with a reel on Instagram. And then in short, it has to be said, Kawasaki has also given back to us lovers and fans of motocross a hope. The hope that the two-stroke will never die at this point, I would say, because first of all, we are fans and the chronometer counts up to a point. And often, sometimes the chronometer does not even count. We just have to have fun. Chan, let's be honest, when we are on the track, we hear a 2.5 two-stroke used the way it should be used. We all enjoy it the same way when maybe we are walking in the paddock. Our eye falls on an expansion, maybe with the welds showing a little smile. You always get out, I know it happens. Even to you. And so Kawasaki got it right, because in the end we are motocrossers and our heart goes to mixture and beats two-stroke rhythm. We will see you soon in the next video.